horseshoe was pretty good. So I taught Usain Bolt how to do that as well. So that was pretty fucking rock star.
What's the golf club?
The golf club's easy.
That video is epic. He did it slow and he's like,
Yeah.
So we're going to talk tonight about horseshoes and sparkling wine, people. Horseshoes and champagne. You know, they are somewhat related. Guys, welcome to episode 99 of the Happy Hour. Wine for the People show, the only show left on the internet where we don't take ourselves as seriously as the wines. And it's pretty questionable whether we take wine that seriously at all. Now, guys, of course, important to note, it is episode 99. Episode 100 is on this Wednesday. And a massive shout out to everyone that's actually chipped in to be involved in that. We're deciding to roast the host for charity for COVID-19 EAD. We're going to be raising money on Wednesday night, precisely the same time, special 2-hour show. Where we're going to be raising funds for a very, very good cause. For anyone that's ever been out at night in Melbourne and had an amazing Epicurean experience, and we pretty much all have, you'll be helping feed the people that have probably fed you. But tonight, we have an amazing, amazing guest, as we always do. But this one's actually a little bit different because you guys have probably experienced and witnessed and seen on the show people that work in the industry at the very beginning. So we're talking things like winemakers, brewers, you know, artisans, makers, right through to people that are at the end of the spectrum, I guess. You know, you've got restaurateurs, waitstaff, chefs, bartenders, sommeliers. But most people don't realize that there is a very specific, I guess, industry or set of industries and roles that actually exist between these. And they really kind of fall by the wayside. A lot of people don't know much about them. We call it the dark arts of, say, distribution, wholesale, or brand ambassadorship. And tonight we have a really amazing guest that's been doing this for actually quite a while and has been absolutely nailing it, killing it. It's probably one of the most exciting people to have on the show. In fact, until such time, we hadn't even met until like an hour ago. But I spent a bit of time researching you today, and I want to introduce this person, handing them their favorite beverage, because they're going to tell you that their favorite beverage is indeed champagne. But ladies and gentlemen, this is Steve Dundon.
Oh, this is a stitch up. This is a stitch up. This is a stitch up. Now, you do realise that mangoes are the drink or the beer of choice. But I'm gonna put it out there that there is a troll in my midst, possibly in my team.
I called a lot of your mates, and
that did make me sweat when I heard about that on the way in, Brendan. I was like, who'd you call? And I reckon I know the 4 or 5 people that have given you your information. But
there's only 3 people short as well.
The only exception for red tins is when I was playing footy, amateur league football, for some reason, with the smell of mud and deep heat, these actually taste a hell of a lot better. So I'm going to see the variability here. And cheers to the red tins.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Yeah, good to have you on the show.
Thank you, and thank you. I'm guessing that was Tara that suggested this one. So
I can tell you it was more than Tara. It involved Kerry, Kat, Amanda, Josh Picken, Aaron Fenwick. It involved a range of individuals that all thoroughly believe that your favourite beverage of choice is West End.
Well, I am a massive fan of South Australian products. You've got to say that is the superior choice. However, it's just not my favourite. I'm gonna stick to the mango.
We have plenty of mangoes in the background if anyone wants to grab one. Now, firstly, Steve, I want to know what is your journey into wine? How does wine fit into your life?
It's been a very long journey, and I think it's been almost 20 years that I've been in wine, Brendan. So I started my journey with the intention of being a lawyer. So I went to uni with that in mind, and was working at a wine shop with Blues Brothers in Norwood, which is now it was a fine wine store, and now it's Dan Murphy's on that corner there.
Yeah.
And the whole time I was there, I had family in the wine industry, and I was really keen to learn more about wine. And Dad used to collect a bit of wine as well. So every time he'd open wine, I'd want to learn about it. So while I was at uni, I used to probably make $200 a week, and I reckon I spent about 50 or 60 of it on wine. I just was passionate about it, and my dad said, "Steve, you got a champagne taste on a beer budget." Because I used to actually buy a lot of French champagne, and so my girlfriend at the time, she absolutely used to love it because she used to reap the benefits of me buying a bottle of champagne every fortnight. But I used to play basketball a lot, and so I used to take down all the trophies in my room and basically turn my room into this kind of shrine for French champagne. And it's kind of weird, but
it was like a brag fest or something.
It wasn't bragging. It was I'm just so passionate about no, seriously, it was the history of the champagne.
Just so passionate about deer, you know, and other animals. I just need to display them.
Took the heads out. I know it sounds sadistic, but it was actually my heart was in the right place, and so I just wanted to learn about the history of champagne, and then I used to sleep underneath a banner of Malt and Chandon that was being thrown out by the bottle shop, and then I had a Perrier-Jouet.
Oh wow!
So I had my room became this kind of living shrine kind of thing.
I got to ask. I know it's like getting real deep and stuff. Yeah. But when you brought, you're out, you got champagne, taste, beer budget kind of deal, and I'm sure that would have attracted the ladies. And they came home. Is it sort of like when you see like those beds that look like racing cars? And it's like I'm just really into motorsport.
Well, it's fairly accurate.
Because they look at it and be like, wow, I think he's taking the champagne thing. Yeah, seriously?
Yeah, there's worse things for me to be in, I guess. But at least they got to benefit from them, not just my little racing car bed, but which I did have as well. I'm 6'5", so I outgrew it pretty quickly, but the champagne didn't. And so where that led me is I then went overseas, worked a year in England or around the US. I taught water skiing, and then when I was working in England, worked in restaurants. I worked the off-premise, on-premise. Came back and started working for Domain Wine Shippers. So it was my first job in wine. Yep, DWS. So working with Bill Cassamon, and then a lot of French Burgundy and Chablis, etc. And then got headhunted for Malt Hennessy. So I joined Louis Vuitton Malt Hennessy in 2005. So I was the youngest executive in the world, in the wine world, at about 26. So just took the right opportunities. I won a fellowship to go and train in champagne and cognac, and did that in my first year. And yeah, just kind of did that for 11 years. And that time I also set up a modelling agency with my ex, which have offices in Adelaide and Melbourne. In there as well, also a mate and I set up an Instagram, which just kind of morphed into something quite big, and we still do a little bit of work with. So one of those guys that just turned a hobby and a passion into something that's paying the bills. So that's booze pays the bills. It's where it kind of came from.
So tell us though, how do you perceive distribution as like an arm of the industry? What's your sort of, because a lot of people I guess might have that outward perception of, and it's actually really interesting, like going into different cities. Even the other day, we saw someone get out of the car when they visited us, and just how they're dressed. We're like, wine rep.
Yeah.
They have that.
Yeah, there's a certain look.
There's a look. Typically, it's R.M. Williams from head to toe.
No, I can tell you exactly what it is. It's the blue and white check shirt, the puffy vest. Usually there's the kind of, this coloured pants. So that's
it's like tan chinos kind of deal. Country road chinos.
They all look and act the same. For me, I took my own journey, and actually, it was part of the reason I got approached by Malt Hennessy is when I was working at DWS, they used to have a real policy on the way you dressed, and so I always used to wear, head to toe, suit, tie, everything, and so Malt Hennessy actually went after me because I presented well, and the rationale was if you're representing some of the best brands in the world, you should look the part.
Basically, dress the part, you'll get the part.
Yeah, and that was part of it. But I think now, the game's changed a lot, and the brand and the way you dress has to be also your personality. So, to dress like this sometimes selling wine is going to be more effective in, let's say, the Sydney on-premise than going head to toe and cufflinks and looking a little bit overdressed.
Yeah,
so for me,
I'm more down about the dress.
See, I love these things. I've been hanging out. I'm gonna set a bet with you later to get a hoodie. Or,
Noah actually suggested for the 100th episode that I suit up, and it's quite an internal, I'm fractured by the whole thing. I might just do both.
Well, you're gonna get roasted, so you may as well be in a suit getting roasted. So but no, so I spent a lot of time in the industry. But in answer to the question about the role of a wholesaler and distributor, I think the best ones are the ones that tell stories and the ones that are really genuinely connected to brand. So you've got so many people that just work in the wine industry because they're almost like Coke reps. They're just taking orders, or they don't.
Coca-Cola.
Okay. They don't. You can tell when someone doesn't give a shit. They're just it's a product, and then all of a sudden they move portfolio and they go, oh, you know what I told you 2 weeks ago? I don't believe that anymore. To me, that comes across as very disingenuous, and you look weak to then kind of undo the good work you've done. So I've always acted like a consultant. I've done a lot of work with restaurants, especially where I take a wine list and I don't care if I offend someone. I'll say, guys, this is what you're missing, and it won't even necessarily be wines that I could sell them. but looking at it through eyes of this is the way I think your business suits.
It could do better. You could do better.
Correct,
Yeah.
and that can backfire, and sometimes it does. Oh, very rarely, but I've got a lot of industry friends, and obviously the ones that have given me bad information about me, I wouldn't consider them friends. But I love what I do, and turned a hobby into a passion and into a job, and get paid to it. So that's good.
Well, talking straight onto the comments, jumping on Kerry Carter, thanks so much for being our first comment today. Stephen DeHorse, Kerry Blandon, thank you so much. Of course, Amanda, Max Mason, Jicky, Zachary, Steve, you guys are awesome. I'm a story I've heard before, B. Ooh, I don't know what you're talking about there. That's my lovely mother. Don't be mean. I'm not being mean, Zachary. I love this guy. He drinks mangoes. Also, they should bring back the Art Deco champagne posters.
I agree.
That is such a good observation.
I agree.
I'm pretty sure Art Deco just in general should be brought back. It should we should graduate the 70s revival thing that we're doing right now and go straight to Art Deco.
I think everything goes full circle. So I agree, that's coming.
Adam Dundon, good to see Ad. Thanks for chiming in. Hey, Cuz. Devils and newsreader style, suit up top, tracky bottoms. I'll do it. Episode 100. Yeah, I'll do tracky bottoms and. Yeah.
He's actually
Maybe
not even wearing pants.
So tell us, when you were at Moet Channel, firstly, let's get some wine into glasses,
Good
because
idea.
beer is a wonderful beverage, but there's nothing in the world like wine.
Well, we won't do the sparkling yet because I'm bringing a game as well. Today,
Cool,
Brendan,
we do.
so
We have a game. We have a game for the sparkling, so stay tuned because you're involved. I think maybe.
Don't do anything by halves, and didn't want to be dull. So we'll start. We're going out of order, but we're going to start with Pinot first.
It's a Burgundian style tasting. You know that's what they do in Burgundy.
Correct.
It's
Jump
red
around.
first,
Yep.
red first, white second. Noah, you can jump on.
So this is the
Smell it from here.
Yeah, nice little wine. This is one of ours at Sidewood. So this is our Able Clone Pinot. So I think we are one of them.
Able Clone?
Able Clone. So I think
No way.
I think one of the only ones that have that.
Tell us
clone.
about Able Clone.
Able Clone's a really cool clone because of the story behind it. So in 1974, there was a Kiwi guy that basically jumps the fence at Domaine Romane Conti, steals cuttings, brings it back into his gumboot. So it's often called the gumboot clone or the Able Clone for a good reason. Gets stopped at quarantine, and the Kiwis say you can't bring it into the country. It's obviously a risk to our biohazard. It's a biohazard risk.
Yeah.
And so he kept on telling him about where it came from, and the guy said, "Oh, really?" And the reason it's called the Able Clone is that the customs officer that day, his name was Malcolm Able, and he decided to basically take it home himself and graft it over to his own vineyard. Which is pretty cool because he basically stole it from a thief. So that vineyard actually became Atarangi, so one of New Zealand's best vineyards. But it made its way to Australia legally. First people to get it, I think, was Yabby Lake. They won the first Jimmy Watson for a Pinot, and we got it from them. So our VIT team and Yabby Lake's VIT team, we negotiated to buy 1,200 cuttings. So at our Oakbank vineyard, we have those cuttings. So we're the only ones, I'm pretty sure the only ones in the Adelaide Hills and South Australia that have this rare Burgundian clone.
That smells incredible.
Yeah, it's a smart wine. But the other thing is we try to make it, we only make 200 dozen. So it's a small batch. And it's usually part of the component for the estate. So the estate, we use the Oberlin clone, which is another rare Dijon clone, the 777 clone, and MB6. This wine, if it's good enough in specific years, will then get its own label. And we've only done that three times now. And yeah, it's a smart wine. And as
what does that set me back?
$32. So not paying $12,000 for a bottle of DRC. You're
Able
getting
Clone, Pinot.
Pretty serious wine. And
This is Laura in the background going, "What is it?"
you can smell that.
Then there's a glass coming.
Ash wines. It's drinking so well.
That's looking really good.
It is, yeah. We do about 30% whole bunch, bit of carbonic maceration as well to give it that kind of, I guess that snap crackle, that lovely acidic line. But it's a cold vineyard, Mapinga vineyard. So we were probably going to take the tags off the end of the rose because we thought if people were going to steal it from us, then they'll start grafting it across, which makes sense. I mean, this is how it came.
So you're saying that you have Able Clone at your Mapinga vineyard?
Yeah, 92 Mapinga Road. We've taken down the signs though because we knew that I'd like to think everyone is noble and, you know, honest. But
Unico's
it's just,
able clone Pinot.
But,
3
you
years'
know,
time.
these are the same people that also give me West End draft cans. So, you know. But no, that wine's really smart. And again, it only in really good years. And the best way to describe this wine is that each of our Pinot is like the orchestra. It's got no missing pieces. These are like the soloists. So our single clones, some of them we make 800 bottles of. So just to sell it all mostly, and you know, for crazy Pinot lovers. So yeah, it's a nice little wine, and it's, I think varietally very true. You know.
Well, tell us about, obviously, when you were working with Moet Hennessy, that was the time that they really sort of moved. They had like several reps in South Australia, and then you became, I'm pretty confident, the only one.
Yeah.
What's it like selling champagne in all of South Australia? The champagne guy.
Yeah. Well, see, that was interesting. It was frustrating from the standpoint is that we moved towards more of an e-commerce platform, and so they kept on having to take headcount from various states. And so I had 4 reps, and then it was 3, then 2, and 1, and the business didn't really, business kept on growing. I guess what it made you do is be more strategic in where you spent your energy, but probably the thing that was disappointing about it is that, you know, we have such a strong wine culture here that for brands like Krug, for example, we were not just the best performing state against budget, but we sold more Krug in South Australia when I was running it. I don't know how it's going now. I'm sure it's probably growing again. Than the rest of the country. So for Queensland and New South Wales and places like that had, you know, 8 reps on the road and 8 million people, just for us to sell more Krug was a really big thing.
Okay, I gotta hold you there. So you said Krug. What was the stat? It was.
We actually sold more Krug in South Australia than New South Wales, and at the time Queensland included. So 2 states.
Tell me, did it have anything to do with this?
Asshole! Oh, you guys are rotten.
What's going on here? Because I'm pretty confident that's a bottle of Krug in your hands, mate.
That is a bottle of Krug and an axe. All right, so I've got some people that I need to have a chat to with an axe. No, this was when we started something called Scum Luxury.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Okay, so
I want to know first and foremost. I want to know before we get into the world.
That was me sabering. That was sabering a bottle using an axe.
Did your sales of Dom go really well as well?
Same night. It was so cold. You know, that was actually at where it is now. Look, I had a bit more hair back then, didn't I? Handsome individual. No, we basically, it was one of these nights where it was actually what is now Lost in the Forest. They used to be rented by Chef Jocks on Thriller. And so one of the night, he basically invited people up there, and it was, you know, so Emma Shearer from The Lost Loaf, and you know, a whole heap of like Nick Ryan, the winer. It was just this group. So obviously,
amazing group.
Aaron Fenwick from Aristologist, Joshua Pickens. So we just had this group of really interesting people, each bringing something to the party. And
you brought the axe.
I brought the axe was already there, cutting the wood. What I did is there was champagne, and then the boys said, "Oh, well, do you want to savor these?" And I just improvised, like you're about to tonight, by the way. Good segue on how to actually open it, and we decided to use an axe, and it worked perfectly. It's actually almost better than using a proper saber to open a bottle of champagne. And Dom Perignon's really easy to open, so. Because the annulus or the weak point on the bottle is actually more pronounced. So anyway, so that's where that began. But thanks, boys.
Well, while we're speaking of opening champagne, describe to us what's happening here.
Okay, so that's Usain Bolt. So that's over at Flemington and the Birdcage. So I've done a little bit of work with, which is interesting because Mum used to hate my guts when I was at Moet Hennessy, but now I do a lot more work with them. And they're wonderful guys, and I've actually got to interview Usain in 2018. Also did some stuff with, I told him, and I'm claiming this, that I taught him how to do it with a horseshoe. Because I sat down one night with him at, we were doing a nightclub appearance thing that they paid us to attend, which go figure. Hey, first time as an influencer of champagne that I got paid money. And a $5,000 bar tab, which didn't go very far.
When it's all Krug.
And I got to hang out with Usain and spray bottles of champagne of Mum over at the nightclub in Melbourne at Miss Collins. And it was actually really awesome. But that was where they do a champagne fountain every day at Flemington. So that was Oaks Day, and basically what he's doing is he's taking I think it's a Methuselah, he opens the top, instead of sabering it, smack the side, obviously it creates a concentration, and then you get a champagne fountain that basically showers everyone. But they did it, I think, with one of the girls from I think it was Desperate Housewives, and she did it, and all of a sudden all the champagne, then just the wind changed, and she just got covered head to toe. So actually, no, it was someone from it was a famous Hollywood actress who did it for Melbourne Cup. But yeah, it makes a bit of theatre, and champagne, as you know, there's a degree of theatre in it that he's certainly a very extravagant guy and a good ambassador for the brand. He's a real gentleman as well.
So speaking of theatre though, when it comes to sparkling wine,
yep.
I was surprised and humbled by the fact that you've brought it. This is Steve and Brendan's Super Sidewood Sabrage Challenge.
So a bit of alliteration you'll notice all the way through with the consistent use of the letter S. So that was, so who says that an arts degree gets you nowhere? I mean,
I don't expect you guys to be able to read this at home, so I'll read it out to you. He's brought this sheet. So this is roll the dice. We don't have a dice, but we've got numbers in a jar. And open the bottle using either 1, the saber, 2, the stupid sparkling flute, 3,
I hate flutes, by the way.
The speaker, which in brackets actually says world first. Yeah. We might open.
It's not verified.
I might fuck up Sidewood's speaker from their office.
No, that's mine.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to let that get screwed up. So.
Number 4 is a sticky tape dispenser. This is like, Chester didn't have this when he came on to from Darrenberg, I can tell you that. 5, something in this room not listed. So it could be anything in this room.
Yeah.
It's like a nice buy. 6 is Steve's choice.
If you got an axe, that's cool as well.
Yeah. And then 2 stars here going failure means that you can use the spatula.
Yeah, so the spatula works as well, so that's handy. That I do need to get back to Sidewood. So if we break that, I may be up for office embezzlement. So.
All right. So should we jump straight in?
I think we should.
How many bottles do we have?
We've got two.
So you're going to do one, then I'm
going to do one. So rather than rolling the dice, because we don't have dice, apparently. Tara, my offsider, who probably dobbed me in for the West End draft, she doesn't even own dice. I don't know.
And look, Unico is just anti-fun, so we just don't have dice or.
I thought it was a millennial thing. You're not allowed to play board games where you win or something. Anyway, so good stitch up. All right, now I've got the sword. Now I want you to draw one of those, Brendan. Okay. Whatever you pull out, then you do the first one, which will be our Cassandra, which is actually our cellar-door only $50.
So I really shouldn't
Blanc De
bugger it
Blanc.
up.
So please don't screw this up. It's also the name of the owner, so it will be even a worse owner.
Okay. I have number 1.
Oh, no, that's too easy.
That's too easy. Don't worry about number 1.
Redraw.
Number 1's not even it.
Number one's the saber. No one wants to see the saber. So
we've already done the saber.
We've done the saber.
Already been done.
All right. What's going on here? Is this 1? Yeah. Here we go. What do we got?
Okay.
Steve's choice.
Steve's choice. So Steve's choice. So how about we ask people? Okay, it's my choice, but I'm going to say it's going to be one of the world first, which is either going to be the sticky tape dispenser or the speaker.
All right, people at home, we have a choice.
Guys, what do you reckon?
Speaker or sticky tape dispenser? I want to know. We're going to do the first 10 comments, and we're going to do a tally, figure out. Well, it can't be 10. It has to be an odd number. Noah, how many should it be? 7.
Go 4.
4. It's an even number.
5.
Tape. Okay. Yep. Good.
We got tape from internal. Guys, come on, get on the comments. I want to know what we should be. Oh wow. Tape. Everyone's saying sticky tape.
I realise the sticky tape is the hardest one, so which is total stitch up. But you know how to do sabrage, or do you need it?
I've always done it with the hood off.
I take the hood off. That's easy. So what I would tend to do is probably use this side here. So run it along the seam, and that would give it enough of a knock. Now, I'll give you 50-50, honestly. But I do love.
She's a little bit wet.
Yeah, I wanted to make it ultra cold.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, don't try this at home.
This is a bit of a stitch up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Try not to drop the bottle. Come on.
This one's a hard one. So you do get the spatula if. That one's a tough one.
I'm not sure that. I think it's a bad idea.
Yeah, it's a bad idea. But
okay.
There you go. So you can
do
the
sticky tape does not work.
Do the speaker.
So
go for another one
first. This way.
I tend to do it that way. Where as long as you run it and hit the exact seam, you get your spot. Yeah. Spot that you want to hit.
Yeah. Right. Spatula. Right.
Spatula. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. No. Again. Yay! Perfect. Nailed it.
I was so sure you were going to take out the
I was like,
emergency
that's what emergency
can
exits
escape.
are for. So good job. No, that's very clean. No,
That's cool.
That was a
though.
stitch up, but it just means that your roast is
I think it's the
it's the hard seam.
Well, look, there's more material there for the roast.
Correct. So
I'm sure there's some sticky roast jokes coming up.
Oh yeah.
All right.
So
Hey, Steve, no, it's your turn.
Oh, my turn. All
It's
right,
your
so
turn. I'm going to
write
share this
down.
around. We don't need that anymore. Amazing able.
Oh shit. Okay, so
did you get?
I've got the speaker, a world
Oh, yeah.
first.
Very good.
So this is actually not fair because I'm supposed to look like the expert, but this is not likely to work either. So I'm gonna
Okay.
have a crack at it. So,
Okay.
All
I hope the speaker wasn't expensive. Hey.
right. Well,
It says Harman Kardon on the front. Is that that's like an Aldi special, right?
I swear this is like $49.99.
okay.
Sounds like it was a sticker. Ah, Mel, that's a good one. Oh man, I am like. Oh,
Well, come on.
Oh, surely you've got this.
No, it's
Oh, man.
it's pretty soft edge. So this is a very unlikely pull, but.
oh no. I'm just.
It's
a $500 speaker.
No, it's all right.
Don't do it. Take
No,
the
this
spatch.
one is actually broken, so I don't mind that. Yeah. Oh no, we can try the side. We can try the flute. Again, I do hope I break the flute because I don't actually like using flutes at all. Okay. This is not good.
Do you want to go for object in the room?
Object in the room.
Object in the room.
Shelf.
Oh, now we're
We have
talking.
a shelf.
Okay.
No one's just fashioned a shelf out of fucking nowhere. I was like, let's open a bottle of wine with a shelf.
It's top shelf champagne.
It's top shelf.
Oh, this doesn't. No, that's not going to work. It flexes too much. Oh, this is just. Oh, this is a.
You need a sharp edge, do you?
No, it flexes
Go for
too
one of the
much.
Maybe
Go-
no.
go
Do,
for
no,
the
no.
halves.
Do you want to do teamwork?
Oh,
Because I reckon we can.
Oh, okay.
I reckon maybe.
Oh, this is only going to go well.
Yeah. So how good are you at holding that?
Oh,
thing?
really?
Yeah. Okay.
That's good. That was good. I'm trying to socially distance and not hug you.
We
but,
opened
yeah.
wine with a shelf.
Well, see, that doesn't work. We did try for world first, the sticky tape, and if you do cut yourself, you've got the ability to mend up
Yeah,
in the. Anyway, that's do not try. This is why the beauty of live TV. This is awesome.
Dude, that is
Anyway.
like gnarly as, man.
Anyway, the beauty of that is that even if you do make a little bit of a mess of it, which we did, that any glass shard at about 92 psi, it goes away. So
It's
you've
how
got
much?
about
90?
90
92
Yeah.
psi. So what is the? What's the? Is it the? Like what causes the pop? What
Yeah.
causes the?
Yep.
You know, because
So-
it's thick glass,
Yeah,
man. That is
seriously.
like at least 20 mil thick.
Yeah, so the thing is that a lot of the glass producers back in the late 1600s, they didn't understand what was going on. And so these wines that would secondary ferment in the bottle, a lot of the monks would go down to their cellars and the bottles would just explode and they couldn't understand why. And it was because you still had live yeast and residual sugar that was secondary fermenting. And then it was only when a cork stayed in that famous line about Dom Pierre Perignon discovering
Tasting
champagne,
the stars.
tasting the stars,
Tasting
exactly.
the stars.
So for us, we need a really strong bottle, but by adding the sugar and the yeast, obviously we're going to get a lot of pressure in that secondary ferment. So for us, we do make these wines in that traditional method format. Where they're slightly differently is if you start with the Cassandra Blanc De Blanc, this was a project.
Let's have a crack.
Yeah, let's have a look at this. So with Blanc De Blanc, as you know, I mean 100% Chardonnay, this is a wine that we really love because we were kind of given creative license on it to make it any way we liked. So this was sous bois, so 14 months in oak, which you wouldn't normally do, one of them being a new oak barrel. So we only released 1,000 bottles of this, and this was using B95, B76 Chardonnay. And then this was then 42 months on lees before being disgorged with only 1 gram of sugar. So when you start talking about barrel fermentation, you're talking about brands like, Krug, Roger Braun, Bollinger. So what that's doing is giving that wine that breadth and the richness that we're trying to get from Chardonnay. Chardonnay is usually really like razor sharp and linear straight down the palate. whereas this wine has some real breadth to it.
That's
so,
incredible. So it's cellar only. Why
Cellar
is it cellar only?
Well, we're available on our wine club and online, but it's only because we've released 1,000 bottles. So it's
And how much is it?
$50. So $50 for a
It's
wine.
a good deal for $50.
That's an amazing deal for $50.
You know,
You just don't see like 42 months on lease
Yeah.
in New Oak.
In one new oak barrel, so it's about 80% second and third use French oak barrels, but there is one new barrel as well. So the wine is seriously powerful, and if you're going to look at a non-vintage French, it's about $50, and you look at that as side by side. That is a serious wine, and the beauty of it also is that you can actually, and don't use flutes. That's why I said stupid wine flutes.
Stupid wine flutes. Yeah.
There's wines like this, you can actually decant that, and what you've got underneath it is a really serious Chardonnay. And
you can tell actually, like you can pick up on it. It's actually quite amazing.
yeah, and when we did the dosage trials on it, most of our wines 4 to 9 grams of sugar dosage. Like the rosé, we put a little bit more sugar. With this, we looked at it; it was almost perfect straight out. And
So you're really being inspired by champagne here.
Absolutely. So, but we wanted to make something that was as good. And you can't emulate the same soil.
Of course
type.
not.
What we wanted to do is we wanted to make a wine that was worthy of
Punched out that way.
Yeah, correct. And the richness of it, on the palate, that's exactly what we were looking for. So, it's pretty serious and pretty interesting. And I thought, just bring that along today. And you did a better job of your Sabrage, even though technically you kind of savoured both. I mean,
I'm a solo man.
Yeah.
Usually, so when it was more the fact that I had to split the Sabrage. If I was holding both the shelf and the bottle, I'm sure I could have done better.
Basically, the odds that we would have picked both of them, we picked out the 2 hardest challenges. So I like the ambition, but
all right. Well, speaking of ambition, you have brought a wine for blind tasting.
Yep.
And I'm very excited by the shape of the bottle. We are going to be getting to that point of the show.
Cool.
Let's jump into a cheeky spot of blind tasting,
Yep.
and we're going to
come back to this one.
We definitely want to chat through that because this is one of those wines that actually really did a lot of stuff for the local industry as well. I'll get to sort of my views on that. But for those that don't know what blind tasting is, for those playing at home, we have had a few questions. Basically, Steve here has brought a wine. I don't know what it is at all. And it's my job to try to guess based purely on the smell and taste. And we're tasting in black glasses, so I don't actually know what it is. This one here, I kind of think, based on the shape of the bottle, I've got already an inkling of what it could be. I just don't know. So the idea is that I guess we're aligning flavour, okay, to place. And that's the speciality of wine. That's the really cool thing about wine, is that we can actually taste it and we can nail it. And there have been some classic cases where I've nailed it, and there have been others that have been so off base. But let's have a bit of fun. No one's going to let you know what I'm actually blind tasting. I've seen change of hands. The bottle's been wrapped up. Don't know what it is. Oh, damn. It's also got a bit of age to it as well.
Yep.
Blanc de Conspiracy. Could well be. All right. So, have you played the options game before?
Not with you, but we do it every week at Sidewood. So
Sick.
we
Cool.
absolutely try to hone our brains about what's going on in the world of wine, and sometimes
Brilliant.
it could be Greek Zinno Marlborough, it could be
Cool.
Eden Valley Riesling. So it jumps around, I think we generally do pretty well. But it's not about being right; it's about how you come to your answer, and it's a bit of fun.
All right. Well, straight off the bat, it's smelling in that sort of textural white with a bit of age, sort of space. Maybe like a Shardy with a bit of age, or maybe one of those sort of textural varieties like Albarino or Vermentino, perhaps. But take it away. Ask me some questions. Firstly, I think it's white.
Okay, it is white.
Yeah.
Old World or New World?
I think it's New World.
It is not. It's Old World.
Right.
So, and maybe what might have deceived you is the fact that I pulled a screw cap.
No, it was actually the primary fruit.
Yeah.
I was really, really impressed with how primary the fruit is on this. So, yeah.
Rough
right.
age range, would you say that wine is?
I'd say this wine is at least 5 years old.
Yes, it was older. It's quite
Oh,
old.
older?
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Which variety do you think it is?
Are you gonna give me some options?
No, okay. So yeah, no, absolutely. So no, I can give you options. I just was trying to pick your brain to where you.
Well, where I'm thinking
I think
now,
I think you're along the right track with what you were saying.
Where I'm thinking though is like if it's Old World, that's really going to trip me up because I really did think it was New World. The primary fruit, and if it's if it's at least 5 years old, we're talking 2015 or earlier, white wine. Like I'm vibing somewhere that produces like quite. If you get this question wrong, like the whole age thing, it's like okay, maybe it's well older.
Yes.
Then we're in one of those places that's known for white wines that can age a fuckload. Yep. So suddenly you're not just at a part way on the spectrum, you're right at the opposite end again. And I'm going to Austria, Germany, like Alsace way in France, that sort of, or northern Italy. But typically wouldn't be in like a necessarily a warm area. And I'll be surprised if it comes from a warm area because if it's a little bit older, it must be a lot older.
So that's
and
good.
Its primary is fuck.
Yep, no, you're absolutely right because it is older. It's pre-2010, so you're looking to 2007 actually. So
it's a 13-year-old wine.
Yep. So that's, I agree with you. Like what you've said is absolutely bang on. Riesling, Brie, or Chardonnay?
I've seen Chard look like this, but typically Chard from the Old World is going to have a dose of oak to it, so I'm on Brie. I don't think it's Riesling.
So which leads you to which region then?
Oh, fuck you. It's probably like Alsace or the Moselle.
No. So why, when I can see how you got there, because the lack of oak is actually a Chablis. So it's
no way.
Yeah, no, seriously. And it's a producer that's actually quite a big producer, but they were one of the few guys that actually put even their Grand Crus under screw cap. So
right.
Yeah, so
in 2007, before it was cool.
2005, they were putting their Grand Cru. So their Les Clos, so did Chablis. They were putting their Grand Crus under screw cap. Yeah, no, it wasn't. No, it's not.
Okay.
It's so. What I'm saying is their Les Clos and their Les Blancs, all their Grand Crus were under. So that's this is actually 2007 Saint-Martin from Domaine La Roche. So. I looked at hosted a wine dinner the other night, and we looked at their Grand Cru, and it absolutely was singing. So that's why I thought I've had an older wine just to see how it was holding up. And under screw cap, it just shows you what Chablis can be, and that flintiness and that that oyster shell. You're losing a little bit of that because of the age, and that's why it's rounding out. And that's
fleshing out a lot more.
Yeah, but smart wine, and it's just it isn't certainly not a natty, but it's one of those wines that we still enjoy to drink occasionally.
Well, we love all wine here.
That's good.
We love all wine, and all beer.
And all beer.
Well.
Apparently, it turns out really are loosening
This is one of the more chaotic tables I've ever seen.
This is definitely a chaotic table going on.
I feel like my end's more chaotic. So I think a speaker and sticky tape can go. Yeah.
Well, I would like to know, obviously, being you're a bit of a champagne influencer, and there was a champagne recently that I came across that raised a couple of question marks, and I'm hoping you might have tried. I've never tried it personally before. Your Instagram tells me that you probably have tried it. If not, you're resharing something from somebody else.
Which we do a bit of.
I would like to know a little bit of story about this. What's going on here?
Yeah, so this is a joint project between Penfolds and Champagne Pinot. And I believe, I got introduced to this a couple of years by a friend at Penfolds. And that bottle was interesting because my friend at Penfolds said, Steve, I want you to try this wine, but I've got a VIP coming in beforehand. So I was like, shit, I'm being bumped. I was like, hey, we've got 70,000 followers. Surely it's someone, has to be someone important.
Holy shit, you pulled that line.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I was trying to stir it. Not at all. It's in my egotistical head. No, I didn't. And then I walked past, and then it was Margot Robbie drinking it. I was like, all right, that's fair to be bumped for her. But it was a project.
You got bumped for Margot Robbie.
Yeah, which is fine. I didn't mind that.
At Penfolds.
I think I'm below Margot Robbie in the importance of Penfolds. So.
No, I just think that's something to brag about.
No, that was.
I just wanted to leave it on the live stream just to let it air. And,
no, it's there's a lot of collaboration. So Penfolds really wanted to do joint projects with some of the biggest. They did a Bijou. They've done You know, I believe they were looking at different projects with big
Yeah,
producers.
they've bought some land in Napa as
Yeah,
well.
right.
Yeah.
And the other thing they did is that the distributors of Pinot in France and around the world would also distribute Penfolds, and so it was a collaboration that was quite natural.
Yeah.
And Peter Gago was heavily involved in the project, and so I got a chance to try that wine, and I believe that one was about 5 years on lees, very low dosage, limited edition. But yeah, I did get a chance to try it, and I actually think a lot of people were quite cynical about it because they wanted to put it down, and hey, Penfolds are a red wine producer, why would they do that?
Yeah.
But I went in with my really very much an open mind, similar to brands like Blanc De Blanc. People like to put them down until they've actually been there or tried the wines, and you realise that
actually pretty good.
They're pretty good. I mean, is a Blanc De Blanc worth $800 a bottle? You could have the same argument about a watch or a handbag. So for me, I went in and said, I'm going to try this on its merit, and that's a fantastic bottle of wine. So is it something like, does it elevate or shift Penfolds brand to being a lifestyle brand? I don't know their full philosophy behind it, but certainly I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to broaden their horizon to say we are not just red wine. Yeah. And I think if you have a look at the white wine project, some of the best wines that you'll try in the new releases, the 311 Chardonnay, the Etana, the 95A. I mean, we used to sell some fruit to Penfolds many years ago from Alan Pinga Vineyard for the 95A, and everyone always claims, oh, my wine goes into Grange, but it is a legitimate A1 vineyard of Chardonnay.
So the reason why, though, you were invited, was it because of your work with Champagne Excess? Because I want to know what this Champagne Excess is about.
See, Champagne Excess is an interesting one because it was just my mate and I who had a Champagne Instagram when I was at Moet Hennessy, and so I used to host all these events, and so we used to just post photos, and then all of a sudden we had 5,000 followers, and then 10, and then 20, and then 50, then we've got 70,000 followers. So we don't actually spend much time on it. We get sent the odd bottle, but really it doesn't pay the bills.
Yeah, but it pays the bills that usually would go to buying champagne.
Well, champagne tastes on a beer budget. I may as well have no budget and get given it for free. So it's self-fulfilling. It's turned out well. So
it's amazing. It's amazing that you could actually conceive of something like that. And so what's the I understand from your time in the industry. You've probably been a fan or been to or hosted many long lunches or debaucherous dinners. What's the longest lunch you've ever hosted?
I'd like to say I can remember it. It's probably on a yacht, to be honest. And that sounds a bit showy, but we did this thing where there was quite a wealthy guy that said, hey, you can borrow my yacht if you just send me some bottles of champagne. And so what I did is I bought some champagne, gave it to the captain, assuming it would go to the guy that owned the yacht, and it didn't, because I ended up going to his house one day. It was all sitting in his cellar. So, but that was pretty good, because what I did is I decided to make it the famous line from Wall Street, which is lunches for wimps, and it's basically saying don't go out for lunch, keep working. And that's the misconception about a lot of guys on my side of the industry. We just go out to lunch all the time. I'm usually sitting in the office and eating my chicken and rice and basically on the phone. But I did this on a yacht, and we decided to do an 80s theme kind of yacht party, and that was pretty fun because we just really went over the top with like KFC chicken, where you cut out also cheese blocks, and then cabana, like awful 1980s platters, and like pigs in a blanket, so it was all awful stuff with amazing wine. So it's kind of that scum luxury lifestyle, Brendan.
So let's get on to that, because we're a couple of minutes away from calling around your mates, doing a little bit of research for this show.
They're not my mates. So they're your mates.
No, you said friends. They're not my friends, but they're definitely your mates.
Nah, your mate.
I want to know what the fuck is this scum lux thing? Scum luxury.
Scum luxury.
I am, because I actually think I might have had it. I want to know, is this scum luxury?
That's scum luxury. So this is where you basically, it's a way of almost making really amazing things approachable. And even Krug attest to this. They actually like the idea of their champagne, which is the most iconic and incredible champagnes in the world, being kind of not dumbed down, but being not aristocratic, but this kind of have it with French fries. You know, make it this kind of attainable thing that you can gift yourself. So Scum Luxury is where you might have a bottle of, let's say, Dom Perignon Rosé, but you might have a Village Pasty with it, or you'll, you know, like.
See, I'm all right with this.
See,
We called it junk food wine pairing, but I prefer your term, Scum
Luxury. So it was basically Josh Pick and Aaron Fenwick, that us three brothers made a commitment to basically always talk about kind of doing things quite in a very filthy manner, which was where you would crack open a really good bottle of wine and kind of dumb it down with something really casual. So that's where it started, where we were, you know, almost seeing who could, you know, whether it was Barnacle Bills and, you know, a bottle of Cristal. It does kind of, salt does work, the chips. So
have you ever, obviously working for a champagne company as well, have you ever just had champagne all night long?
Yes.
What do you drink or eat with that?
So this is the thing that people don't understand, and it's the same with Australian sparkling. With a wine like that, you can drink that throughout the night, or even with champagne, you can actually decant wines to actually see what they look like without the bubbles. So when I've been in champagne, that you don't get given anything other than champagne, and everything is paired then to the dish. So for example, if you're looking at a Blanc De Blanc, you're looking at Pinot-based wines generally that really do sing with duck and with rabbit and, you know, with venison. And so Australians just have not got their head around the fact that sparkling wine is intrinsically a wine. And I know that seems so simple, but don't think about it that it's got bubbles, I have to have it on arrival or with Pavlova. Like there is so much more usage for
Has anyone had Pavlova since the 80s?
See, that was on my party on the boat. So it's really good. So, no. The hipsters just call it an Eton mess now, but it's the same goddamn thing. Like you just renamed really cool things that. So Pavlova is good. So
talk to us about this other sparkling.
This is the Isabella, and when you talk about really a relentless attention to detail and winemaking, this is it. So this is our rosé Saignée method. So we bleed it on Pinot skins for a while, 60% Pinot Noir, 40% Chardonnay. This wine kind of came from almost our willingness to be patient or a degree of, hey, we made too much, where we just kept on disgorging it over 3 different editions without putting the price up. So the wine that we're drinking in front of you now is 5 years on lees. So, you know, this is from 2014. That's 5 years on lees. So you drink a bottle of Dom Perignon at 6 years, 6.5 sometimes. So 5 years on lees, it is 60% Pinot Noir, 40% Chardonnay, a 9-gram dosage, obviously traditional method. And that wine retails for $32. So it wins every gold medal and trophy. It goes into every show. But it's a lovely wine, and people go, "Oh, it's not very pink." Well, we don't make to colour. You know, every edition we change it, and you know, the Saignée method, rather than doing red wine edition, we don't mind just getting a bit of colour from it. It's certainly Pinot dominant.
Because I remember when this first launched years ago, almost 10 years ago, I reckon, and I remember at the time it was literally, there was one sparkling that came out of the Adelaide. I mean, there was still plenty at the time, but the one that everyone was just raving about was Burton Hen. They were like, and this came out, and it was really interesting that another company that actually was quite new at the time was making moves to do things at, like, setting a bar for quality and then competing on price with it. And it's something to do with, I guess, you know, the owners' you know, desire to actually challenge and grow and do things like do it right, do it once, do it well. And we see that continually from Sidewood. But the other thing, the flip side of that, you know, it's almost like if these wines were double the price, everyone would know about them. But it's almost like they're that price that it's almost like it's a secret. And people kind of like it that way. They're like, you know, we like the fact that we can actually.
No, I agree with that, and I think partly because otherwise Owen and Cassandra will see this and go, "Hey, let's double the price," because of Brendan saying so. So thanks for that.
But I've become an influencer, maybe we could.
But no, I agree with you, and I think, you know, the philosophy at Sidewood has always been to be uncompromising, and you know, and that's from vineyard, and we are a glass to, you know, so grape to glass. So we own the vineyards. We've got our own winery. We've got our own bottling line, so we can control it. With this, it's about patience, and you know, also when you're pressing the fruit, you know, you can press the hell out of fruit to make more wine, or you can crop at higher levels. For us, we're pressing this sometimes at 550 to 600 liters extraction. It's a very gentle free run to make the best possible wine. There is no profit in making a wine like that unless we sell it from cellar door. So we sell it to our distributors, we lose money. but it tells a story of what Sidewood's able to do. And so I think, you know, we're very much a medium-sized to larger, certainly within the Adelaide Hills, and certainly growing very quickly. But, you know, behind the scenes, we're kind of a very big, small batch winemaker. And wines like this, you know, we release it when it's ready, and then we release it as it's required. So for this wine, to get 3 different disgorgements and then not charge more for that, even though it's cost more to hold it, makes a big difference. So 5 years on lees, I doubt there'd be another wine in Australia, if not the world, that would be that price point. So
that's incredible.
Not, it's a pretty smart wine.
Totally agree with you.
This is my favourite as well. This is named after their daughter Isabella, and her middle name's Rose, so she got the rosé as well. So it's very much a family focused business.
Well, speaking of children, you beautiful son Henry.
Yes.
Born at the back end of 2015.
Correct.
Good vintage year for Champagne in particular.
Brilliant year all round.
For both Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. Yes. So have you got any?
Well, not yet.
Are you going to wait for some late disgorge stuff to happen?
Yeah, so I mean, with the 15 vintage, a lot of the best stuff hasn't come through yet, so it's still sitting in the cellars. But I was in Champagne in 2018 and got to try some of the wines that were on lees and early as they were evolving. I'm sentimental like that, but you know, I think I look forward to celebrating, you know, obviously his life and opening some bottles with him. But you know, a lot of the time those 15s they'll get held back by the houses. So a lot of people that buy wines in their youth and then kind of leave them on cork, often they open them up on a 21st birthday and they're very disappointed by them. Whereas if you leave those wines on lees, they make a much better wine. So yeah.
Well, there is talk that Charles Heidsieck will release a Blanc De Blanc, I reckon, of 2015.
I would say so. Yeah, no,
they're plus they like their 5s.
They do. The 95 was one of the first wines that I fell in love with, and it's the first champagne tasting I went to with the chef de cave at the time, the late Daniel Thibault, and he was the reason I fell in love with champagne. So Charles Heidsieck is a brand I still have a lot of love for. So.
Well, Mel's trying to going a 6-pack of Piccolos for virtual tastings, please. Or I think there could be like, you could do a 6-pack of Piccolos for a vertical tasting. I think would be.
You could do canned, you know. You could do canned. I know a few people in the industry that make canned wine that we can hook you up with.
Well, Steve, we're not going to let you leave without having tried the blind tasting.
Okay, yes.
So we have 3 wines behind you that are all wrapped up. I don't know what they are.
This goes quickly, doesn't it?
It does. It's got 10 minutes, man.
All right. So I just have to pick one. Or?
Yeah, you pick one completely. Hey, your choice. It doesn't
in the middle. So all right.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. And Noah will.
Cool. Thank you.
These.
All right.
Thanks, Noah. Legend.
No, perfect.
Oh, mate. And mate, tell us. So right now you are the national sales manager for Sidewood.
Yes.
What's keeping you guys go through COVID at the moment?
Yeah, I think we've had to pivot the business a lot. So, and especially for me, a lot of my role was overseas. So that's been a real change for my role. But I think it's similar to what you're doing is you've evolved the business around doing things that are like virtual tastings. I do virtual tastings.
I just really wanted to drink West End with you.
Hey, who didn't?
Who didn't?
I'm going to savor this one and just bust it. No, it's so stuff like that. The direct to consumer stuff is important. I'm doing a lot of wine dinners, so looking at wine dinners with so Viet next door, a friend of mine with. I would have thought this time people wouldn't be buying $295 tickets to wine dinners, but what we've been doing is benchmarking Sidewood versus some of the best wines in the world, and looking at that Pinot that you looked at, we were looking at last week against Domaine Bouchard, Echezot, a Grand Cru Burgundy, and allowing people to kind of make up their own minds and see that we're not trying to beat it, but quite often people are sitting there thinking, why would I actually,
spend that much on this when we've got this?
And sometimes, the Grand Cru Chablis versus our Chardonnay looked really interesting. We're looking at Ruinart versus the Cassandra. Things like Perrier-Jouet, Belle Epoque Rosé versus the Isabella. Now, it's a $350 wine versus a $32 wine, and it absolutely sung. So stuff like that's been really good. It's also allowed us to innovate. So things like we've started doing ciders, our new strawberry and apple cider, 8%. Which is a cracker. I've got a 4-pack for you, so you can. I'll leave that with you to drink. Oh, you're going to crack it? Perfect.
Yeah, man.
Sabre. All right.
Do you
so-
reckon?
What could go wrong? Yeah.
Can it? Does it work?
Well, it does work, but nothing's worked so far. So live TV.
Except for
so
this, man.
yeah,
I mean,
right.
does it?
Oh dear
It's gonna
God.
be really.
Fucking works, man.
Nailed it.
Pour that one out,
Yeah.
dude.
Exactly. So,
We're gonna have a spatula. This is
This-
not a shit wine invention,
This
people.
is-
This is a very good wine
This
invention.
has got a lot going on. So
All
that
right.
was good. So I have to look at this one. So
Yes, please. That is dangerous. Why don't you just make it less strong?
whereas we just wanted to make something that was going to be the best example of cider, and it's all fresh strawberries from your Radler as well. So
It smells amazing.
yeah, smart little wine.
All right, speaking of wine, let's jump on this. All right. Gonna shove the comments down.
Oh, bugger.
She's aromatic as
It's
heck,
beautiful.
isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's jumping out. Super aromatic. So
It's like white frangipanis
Yeah.
as far as the
the certainly. Yeah, again, I think I know the variety based on it being so spicy and aromatic, but I could be wrong.
I've no idea what it is.
Yeah.
Noah, are you happy to play?
You want to ask the question?
The games? Yeah,
Yeah.
always. Is this red or white?
This is white.
This is white. All right.
Definitely got some age on it, but it's
not too much.
it's a little bit skin contact potentially,
aromatic.
but the aromatic leads me to
Spicy. So
believe.
you're
I'm
jumping
thinking
straight onto
I'm
Gewurz.
straight into Gewurz.
Straight into
That's what I'm
Gewurz.
thinking, and
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Yeah. The only other thing that I've
Fion-
had recently that could be like this would be Kerner.
Yeah, Kerner, the Viognier. If you had Viognier because of that phenolic, there's a degree of that could potentially lead me that way. But the slight oiliness, but it's that spice. Unless it's a blend which has Gewürztraminer that's jumping, that's the first thing I'm thinking.
Are we allowed to cheat slightly and ask whether
Is
this
it
is
straight?
a blend?
Yeah.
Or
This is a straight variety.
Straight variety.
Straight
variety,
so that's-
100%.
Okay, it makes it a bit harder.
Is this from Austria, France, Italy?
I'm going to say France, but that's because then I'm saying I'm saying Alsatian.
You're Alsatian Gewürz.
Yeah. But then I could be wrong. It could be an
I'm
Austrian.
gonna go Italy, northern Italian kind of like vibe.
If it's an Austrian Gruner, then you could see where it got to that, but it'd have to have age to get to.
It's a
to
weird
that.
Alto Adige number, maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, what are the other questions we got? Vintage.
Wait, where are we?
Oh, we're in France.
We're in France.
France.
It's French.
Are we Alsace, Sardinia, or Loire?
I'm just going to say Alsace.
When I say Alsace.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Alsace.
Because again, it connects back to the
Yeah.
Gewürz where I was thinking.
Gewürz.
So
Yep.
not so long.
The next question is variety. Is it Pinot Blanc, Riesling, or Gewürztraminer?
Gewürz.
So stick with my original.
This is Riesling.
So it's got age.
It's happened to me a few times where
Yeah.
there've been some old world, and I do question whether or not it's like a Riesling clone.
The roundness of the reed. Again, it would have to have age then, so that can't be a newbie.
17, 13, or 9, 2009.
I'm gonna split the diff. I'm gonna go 13. Sit in the fence.
Because it's Riesling,
9.
nah, it's not that oily. No, I agree with you, 13.
This is 2017.
Wow, it's
Okay,
pre-moxie.
yeah.
It's looking a little bit,
It's looking-
right.
it's looking ahead.
So
Yeah.
let's have a look. Where we
That's ahead
Marcel
of
Dice.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Good wine.
It's 2017.
Oh,
17, three-year-old. So it would be. This would have come out like I assume current release would be 2018.
Yeah.
So it's like it's actually pretty fresh.
Yeah.
There's something about the bottles, man, from this place that I just when Soms like you're like, oh man, I really love this bottle, but I'd love them all in magnums.
Yeah.
Like the magnums don't fit in a fridge this way,
Magnum's
all
like
this
a
way.
clip, like a baseball bat. So
Yeah.
I remember like Skilligalee Riesling Magnum used to be like up to here. I was like, yeah, this is not that convenient. You know, you almost had to put it over someone's shoulder just to pour it. So.
Also, use of Comic Sans on the label is excellent.
This Comic Sans
Comic
on the
Sans.
background, on the back of
Wow.
it. Nice, I like that.
Let's give more. I want to see more of it. Mate, we've got 2 minutes.
Yep.
And I would like to know something very particular. It's something I've been told to ask you by one of your mates.
Great.
That's
all we've got time for.
We are talking. Firstly, I've got two things you need to. There's 2 stories.
Okay.
One story I think you could dismiss with very quickly. Firstly, what's going on there?
I'm dressed like Walter White, and that's Halloween, and I think I did a pretty good job of it. So,
You looked very convincing.
Yeah.
More convincing than everyone else.
I'm going to turn my Instagram to... No, actually, no, because my Instagram is private, so yeah, damn it. Okay. No.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, guys.
The second thing, Olivier.
Yes.
Yeah, the Exeter.
Yeah. So that was interesting because we invited him out to South Australia because they said, oh, he's going to come out to Australia. He comes out probably every few years. And they said, oh, he's going to Sydney and Victoria and Melbourne. I said, no, bloody way. I said, look at my numbers. And then they said, Steve's got a point. And so they let me have him in South Australia. So we started out doing a lunch at Arana, went at Eastern Cellars, did a masterclass. And I said, come with me. Took him down to the Exeter and walked in, and he was like, oh, I've heard about the Exeter. And I said, yeah, your father came here back in the 80s, and I just want to show you something. And so this is where I got to open a bottle of Krug and give him the beer glass or the butcher glass on the
wow,
the
what was his face?
Oh, he just sat there looking around going, is it like almost like, where's the hidden cameras? And then I explained the tradition that's now become iconic, which I believe actually Philip White started, by the way. I know Nick Stock carried it on, and then it's kind of become this kind of rites of passage. But I actually took Olivier there and got him a glass there, and he was very proud. He said he enjoyed it. It was scum luxury. It was absolute scum luxury.
So that's the epitome of scum
that
luxury.
is totally.
Interstate, the Exeter is just basically like we're talking like a pub that probably hasn't changed since like the 70s.
Yeah.
The only thing that's changed since the 30s is the lick of paint outside.
Correct.
I've done my research.
It is OG pub. And they serve Krug there for like an amazing rate.
Yeah, about $285 a bottle, and you have to drink it from a beer glass. And so now, end of vintage, or you get a promotion, or something big happens in your life, you drink it. So now it's actually from there, since I've left, they now do Krug butcher glasses that when you buy a bottle, you actually get a branded Krug glass. So that's how they've gone. That's how hard they've gone. So yeah, it's very cool. But
I'm going to get one for you guys.
My question is that, like, you were talking about the percentage of SA sales comparison to New South Wales and Queensland. What percentage of that is the Exeter?
Actually, it was reasonable. It's probably only about 10%. No, it wasn't actually that big. So Penfolds McGill Estate was smashing through it, but I think it was just because Josh and Aaron, the guys that have been feeding you these horrendous, salacious photos, were actually probably just drinking it in their breaks because they were, and Jock, because I don't know how they got through so much of it. But no, there's a lot of wine people here, and they get Krug because it's not as showy. It's a wine that is just for people that really truly love champagne, and we've got people like that in this state. So, yeah.
Well, on that note, one last comment coming in from Mel Sinclair, who has been like just throwing out some of the best puns all night. Breaking Blancs was definitely the caption for that photo that I just chucked up. Steve, mate, thanks so much for coming on up. Seriously, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been a hell of a lot of fun, and it's the first time for me opening a bottle of wine with a shelf.
Well, I think we technically did that. So
yeah,
no,
we made a thing together, mate.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me, and yeah, I'm looking forward to roasting you back in a couple of days. Maybe.
In a couple of days, absolutely. Yeah. And of course, live audience, thank you, Tara, Laura, Richard, for chiming in, and Noah, of course. Thank you very much for playing producer and God, aka the Game Master Extraordinaire. And for everyone that's chimed in at home as well, thank you so much. We had a bumper audience tonight. And remember, on Wednesday, it's roast time central here. I'm going to be sitting here getting roasted by some of the greatest in the industry. We also have a couple of comedians and a couple of celebrities chiming in as well. People you might not expect, actually. But we're going to be raising money for COVID-19 EAD. A very, very, very important charity that's raising money for out-of-work hospitality workers, getting them food, chef-cooked meals, so they can actually, kind of subsist until such time as we're over this entire mess. But until Wednesday, guys, have a great Monday, and I'll leave you with Henry with Applewood Distillery.